Welcome to this explainer on the Asset First Financial Protocol. Listen, today we are going to completely, fundamentally change your psychological relationship with your paycheck. Because let's face the brutal truth, if you just wait until the end of the month to save whatever happens to be left over, well, there's literally going to be nothing left. So we're going to look at a mathematically proven, brilliantly honest system, one that's designed to break those bad habits and help you build an absolutely unbreakable financial empire. So, have you ever experienced that incredibly specific, kind of hollow feeling on the morning of payday? You know the one. You wake up, you check your bank app, and for maybe 5 seconds, you feel this massive surge of relief. You feel rewarded for all those early mornings and brutal commutes. But then, almost like clockwork, the invisible vacuum turns on. Your money just starts vanishing before you can even pour your morning coffee. Okay, let's dive into this payday timeline because it's a rapid sequence we all know way too well. Monday, boom, your salary's deposited. Nice. But by Tuesday morning, your rent or mortgage is pulled out. By Tuesday noon, the student loans and the car payments take their cut. And by Tuesday afternoon, the credit cards and all those monthly subscriptions demand their share. It hits you that you're making more money than you ever have in your entire life, yet you feel completely broke by Tuesday evening. Crazy, right? Well, this leads us to a pretty painful truth highlighted by our sources. You don't actually own your own money. Nope, you're just the middleman. You are literally just a conduit whose only purpose in life is to transfer money from your employer straight to your creditors. By following the standard path we're all taught, go to school, get a safe job, pay your bills on time, you're effectively working for the company's owners, the government, and the bank. You're working for absolutely everyone, except yourself. And that creates this terrifying cash flow pattern built out of two very raw human emotions, fear and greed. See, the fear of being broke motivates us to work hard, but once we actually get that paycheck, greed or desire completely takes over. We get a raise, and immediately we upgrade our lifestyle. We get a slightly nicer car or a bigger apartment. The source actually compares this to a donkey chasing a carrot dangling on a stick. Fear makes us pull the heavy cart, but greed keeps us trotting after a total illusion, basically just a slightly shinier carrot. To escape this trap, you've got to execute a radical shift in your thinking. You need to stop obsessing over your income statement and start looking entirely at your balance sheet. And let's strip away all the complicated financial jargon here. It's simple. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, whether you are working or not. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. It's really just that straightforward. But the tragedy of the middle class is that they constantly buy liabilities, falsely believing that they're assets. Society and banks will tell a young couple that their massive dream home is their greatest asset. But the brutal math tells a completely different story. The exact second they buy it, they get hit with property taxes, mortgage payments, insurance, maintenance. That house drains money out of their pocket every single month. The rich, on the other hand, focus exclusively on acquiring real income-generating assets first. So the crucial point is this famous rule: pay yourself first. It actually originates from George Clausen's famous book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, millions of people know this phrase, but almost nobody actually practices it. Why? Because they rely on their own weak willpower. The average person pays everyone else first, just crossing their fingers that a tiny sliver of money will magically be left for savings at the end of the month. And because the temptations of the consumer world are just so incredibly strong, there rarely is. To actually pay yourself first means completely reversing that flow. The very second your income arrives, you allocate a predetermined amount directly into your asset column before you pay a single bill. Now I know, I can hear the panic setting in right now. What if you come up short on your bills? Well, think about it. If you pay yourself last, you feel absolutely no pressure. You just quietly accept being broke. But if you come up short on your bills, who is going to scream louder, you or your credit card company? Oh, your creditors will absolutely scream louder. Government and corporate bill collectors are basically like big schoolyard bullies, and most people are absolutely terrified of collection calls and their credit scores dropping, so they let these bullies kick sand in their faces, and they pay them first purely out of fear. But the wealthy individual, they use the fear of the bully to make themselves stronger. When you pay yourself first, that intense pressure from creditors hits, and it actually forces you to go out and seek new forms of income. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the psychological pivot. When you're feeling that pressure and you say to yourself, I can't afford it, your brain completely shuts down. You just accept defeat and slip into this helpless sadness. But forcing yourself to ask, how can I afford it, changes everything. It forces your brain to wake up, search for answers, and create possibilities. The pressure to pay your bills suddenly becomes your ultimate motivation to start a side hustle, negotiate a raise, and really exercise your financial genius. But to do this, you also have to aggressively reject the invisible money scripts and excuses that are holding you back. Our sources warn heavily against this internet victim culture. I mean, there are entire forums filled with people who compete to see who's the bigger victim, always blaming the economy or previous generations for their so-called mathematical impossibilities. They will spend decades complaining and paying thousands in credit card interest, but they won't spend a single weekend reading a personal finance book. You have to decide right now that you are in control. So how do we actually implement this without relying on our deeply flawed human willpower? You build a strict, automated, mechanical money flow. Here's how it works. Step 1, your paycheck arrives. Step 2, the very next day, your computer automatically routes a predetermined percentage directly to your investments and savings. You don't log in, you don't click transfer, nothing. Step 3, you pay your bills with whatever is remaining. The money you need for your future literally disappears before you can even think about spending it. Now, this automated system embraces what we call the 85% solution. See, way too many people suffer from massive decision paralysis. They think they need a mathematically flawless portfolio before they can even begin. They'll spend years, literally years, researching perfect mutual funds. But the honest truth is, getting started is vastly greater than perfection. An automated system that is 85% perfect is infinitely better than doing 0% just because you were too scared to start. So at this point, we really have to ask the big question: why? Why are we enduring all of this financial pressure? Why are we letting bill collectors push us, totally ignoring the victim culture, and meticulously building this asset column week after week? What is the absolute ultimate goal here? Well, it all comes down to understanding what wealth actually is. Society constantly trains us to believe that wealth is visible. You know, a $100,000 Porsche, a shiny Rolex, seeking admiration from strangers. But the great paradox of consumerism is that when people see a Ferrari drive by, they don't admire the driver, not at all. They completely ignore the driver and just project their own desires onto the car. Spending money to show people how much money you have is, ironically, the absolute fastest way to have less money. The source brilliantly defines it this way: true wealth is the gap between your ego and your income. Seriously, think about that for a second. Wealth is the luxury car that was not purchased. It is the first-class upgrade you declined. When you define savings this way, you suddenly realize why so many high-earning professionals save so little. They're locked in this daily struggle to extend their peacock feathers. People with real, enduring personal finance success simply possess a propensity to not give a damn what others think about them. Let's move to and see how this builds, because when you build invisible wealth in your asset column, you guy the highest dividends possible. Freedom, the ability to wake up and completely control your own time. The flexibility to take a sick day without breaking the bank, or maybe taking a job with slightly lower pay but flexible hours so you can actually spend time with your kids. These unseen, totally incalculable returns are your permanent hedges against a wildly unpredictable world. And this brilliantly illustrates the specific mindset you must adopt to succeed. View each dollar in your asset column as a tireless employee working 24 hours a day. I love that. Every single dollar you automatically pay yourself first is an employee that never complains, never gets sick, and never asks for a vacation. Over time, this massive roster of dollar employees generates its own cash flow. You only buy a luxury item when your asset column is strong enough to buy it for you. So I want to leave you with this final provocative challenge. What is your pay yourself first percentage going to be today? Seriously, stop being a passive middleman. It doesn't matter if it's $500 or $50. Go to your bank app right now, set up that automated transfer, and let the money disappear before you can spend it. Let the pressure build. Use that anxiety to exercise your mental money muscles until you are stronger than the financial bullies of the world. Are you ready to take control?